Welcome, welcome, welcome to another round of the Bandit Racing League here at Watkins Glen tonight. And if you can't tell, my voice sounds just a little bit different. That's because I'm not Marshall. We got Marshall on track tonight. He's going to be running Watkins Glen. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but I've got a couple guys with me. I have Chris Ferrara, driver of the 13, and Dawson Guzik as well. Familiar last name, so I'll go ahead and I think you know Chris a little bit, but I think it's about time we introduce Dawson, so I'll just go ahead and let him talk about himself for a second and kind of, that way you guys can get to know him. So I'll let him go ahead and do that first of all before we really get started here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the intro. It's good to be here. My name's Dawson. I'm Brett's brother. Just figured I'd join in the broadcast here to give some little bit of input, some of the stuff that I know. Growing up with Brett, racing all our lives and stuff like that. I figured it would be a pretty good deal here. So I appreciate you letting me in.
Yeah, definitely glad to have you. I feel like it's going to be a really good broadcast. We've got about a minute left of practice right now before we get started. Of course, Nick Nickerson on the top of the board. I don't think that surprises anybody. But if we have to pick someone to win tonight, other than Mr. Nick Nickerson, I'm just going to put you on the spot. Who are you going with, Chris?
I really want to say Marshall. He's probably the fan favorite tonight, being that this is typically his spot to broadcast, and he came in the booth. I know that the fans had a little bit of input into what his car looks like tonight, if I understand correctly, but I want to say Marshall, but I know that Brett isn't really up there on the speed charts, but I know he's done a lot of homework for this race, and I'm looking for him to be quick.
Yeah, I think both Marshall and Brett are probably going to be pretty quick tonight, but Dawson, what are you thinking if you have to make a guess?
I mean, it's hard to bet against Nick, that's for sure. He's definitely been the road course ringer. Marshall, we all know he is very, very good. I think he's definitely going to be up there. I think a lot of this race is going to come down to strategy. And obviously we know that Brett is very, very good at strategy. Brett's going to be hard to bet against too. It's hard to say them top three. They're cooking, that's for sure. Once they get rolling here, it's we're gonna have to let this race play out to see what's gonna go on.
Yeah, and talking a little bit about strategy, we're starting our qualifying right now actually, so we'll see who gets on track first. It looks like Marshall's going to be one of the first guys out there. Nick already jumping out as well, but we'll have to watch their first laps. But talking a little bit about strategy, what do you think the strategy is going to be here tonight, guys? What are some key points that we want to talk about?
First off, I think tires are going to be the big thing. I mean, I think we're only going to have one pit stop tonight, and I think it's going to come down to who gets down there first. Once they get down there, it's going to be where they come out at, and then it's tire management from throughout the entire race. Keeping the heat out of those rears is going to be a big deal, and then it's probably just as much as sliding them fronts. The front's going to get real tight throughout this run, but keeping the heat out of the rears is probably going to be just as important.
Yeah, another thing that we want to keep an eye on is the off-track limits. So those red and yellow curbing pieces that you see, you have to make sure when you're going through these corners here that you really stay within those. I feel like there's going to be a couple guys that try and push it too hard, going to jump inside of or outside of those, but it's going to be difficult to keep the car inside of those. You see Marshall getting a little bit sideways through his first lap of qualifying, but there you can take a good look at, and really sideways for the 95 car, but there you can take a good look at the 95 car that, we asked you guys what you wanted to see on the car, so we have a couple little things on there. If you'll notice right in front of the 95 is a cautions breed cautions, because it's bound to happen. We had to put that on the race car. Of course, no cautions here tonight. Going to be green flag the whole way, which is going to make it a little bit tougher, I would say, but I feel like the road courses are always fairly fun because of that. But Marshall decided that he wanted to go with a Rogue Energy paint scheme, so that's why we've got the sour candy Rogue Energy on there, one of their newest flavors, and he really wanted to support Alan Castle, who's a big supporter of our league. So we have the Rogue Energy Sour Candy on there, and of course, want to remember, if you go to rogueenergy.com, use code Castle Esports, and that way you can get a little bit of money off. Curtis Yancey going to be the first driver to lay down a time of 1:13.80. Marshall Crocker Jr. with a 1:13.93. Marshall the slowest of the three, and of course Nick Nickerson the quickest as of right now, but the numbers quickly filling up already. And as we go through qualifying here, and we've got a little bit of time, I just want to go through and thank some of the sponsors that we have, some of our series partners, because, I feel like it's always important to recognize them. Geezer Authentics, obviously. That is Bill Harkins, his brand there. Apex Sim Racing, great supporters here, as well as Perfect Shine Auto Spa, the beautiful cameras, track cams for gourmets, and, of course, Evanwall Media, right here on the Full Send Racing Network. Glad to have you. Really fun to be back here. I definitely feel out of place being here, actually talking a little bit more. I'm used to just saying things every once in a while, but I feel like it's going to be a fun race, and I feel like we're going to have a good time here. But yeah, Nick up front, Brett Guzik in second right now. Curtis Yancey has moved his way up to fourth. Brett just put down his second lap time. Going to be a 1:12.51 right now. He's going to pull off. We'll see who else we've got on track that we can take a look at. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys in the comment section right now, who do you all think is going to win? I feel like we're always most people are going to want to say Nick, but you never know, something could happen. So, yeah, in the comment section, who do you guys think is going to win here tonight?
Yeah,
as well. Christopher Hamilton and Alec Daffin, they had really good runs at COTA. I think Dawson has more of the statistics on that later, but they put in some pretty decent times there. I mean, Nick has about a half a second on the P2, which is Brett, but those guys could put something together. Nick could get in trouble. One thing about this track is, you have to keep the car on track, which pretty confident that Nick can do, but you're going to end up getting in lap traffic pretty heavily at some point in the race, and that should play a factor into this, with cars trying to avoid the leader coming and putting themselves in a worse position because they're a little bit nervous about taking out the leader. So we saw that in real life this past week with the Xfinity series. So you can't rule it out. That's a factor for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that Christopher Hamilton is going to be a guy to watch here. I got him P2 at COTA. I mean, man, he ran Brett down for a good while and finally got by him, and it was pretty wild finish between them two there at the end. Obviously Nick running way out in front as usual, but I definitely think that these guys are closing the gap on him just a little bit. Brett's getting pretty fast. Christopher for sure. Alec Daffin has definitely been I would say, big surprise coming into this. I mean, I think he's a pretty new guy to our league here. I'm looking at his stats here, and I mean, the last three races, he's second, fourth, and third. Like, it's pretty crazy that with those stats, he's definitely got the highest average finish of 3.71. So he's definitely up there.
Yeah, always a quick driver right there. And the thing is, there are so many quick drivers, and I would consider this to be a mainly oval league. We don't come to a lot of road courses, and when we do, Nick tends to do. I don't want to use the word dominate, but Nick tends to dominate most of the road courses that we do come to. But the thing is, we forget to talk about almost how many good drivers we have throughout this field, and how this field just continues to grow with good drivers. It seems like almost every single person we add really brings something to this field, and right now we've got, I believe, 29 drivers, almost 30 in this race right now. And while this is a little bit smaller than some of the oval tracks that we run, because it is a road course, all those drivers are really good. And I don't want to exactly say every single one of them is in contention to win, but a lot of them really are. You never know what can happen to some of those guys up front, especially if they're racing in lap traffic. So I feel like a good bit of people come into races like this and are just expecting Nick to come in and dominate the whole race, but you really never know what can happen. And so many of these drivers are so quick, and a lot of them put in a lot of time to practice. So it's going to be interesting watching not only the battles at the front, but the battles all the way throughout the racetrack here tonight at Watkins Glen. But with that being said, as qualifying goes on, real quick, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Have you wondered why our camera angles look so good? It's simple. Track cams for gourmets. Find their link down below in the description to bring a level of immersion to your sim racing experience that has never before been possible here in iRacing. Evanwall Media started as nothing more than a catchy Instagram handle, but it's quickly become much more. Right now we're two college students with a love of videography looking to provide you with high quality videos. If you're in the southeast looking for a video of any type, head over to evanwallmedia.com to send a message. Even if you aren't looking for a video, check out Evanwall Media on YouTube to see what we've done. Apex Sim Racing has immersive sim racing gear made for you. Whether you need a button box to adjust your in-car settings during the final lap, a race-ready steering wheel for total control on track, or a full turnkey racing simulator ready for your first race, Apex Sim Racing has you covered. Click the link in our video's description to head over to their website as soon as the race is over. And with that, we're back. Still qualifying underway, but nobody currently on track right now. Brandon Jackson put down a lap time while we were away, put him up to 13th position, but right now Nick's still out front. The 7 of Benjamin Lacey in second place right now, followed by Brett, and who I'm going to call the fan favorite for this race, the 95 of Marshall, Christopher Hamilton, sitting in 5th place right now. It looks like we have two drivers who haven't taken a time. That's going to be the 37 of Nicholas Lovell and the 96 of John Graham. But currently nobody out on track right now, waiting for... Or no, I take that back. We do have two drivers out on track. Bill Harkins on his in lap currently, and so is Robert Mathis Jr. Or no, I take that back. They're just sitting on pit road. So nobody on track right now. Still trying to get used to this in charge of the broadcast thing, but yeah, we're here to have fun, here to have a good time. And you know what? I've realized that I forgot how difficult it really is to fill time. So with that, we're just going to go ahead and get into our grid because qualifying is almost completed. And we can't get into our grid yet because qualifying is not over. So I was wrong. So Dawson, I heard you have a lot of facts here. What else you got to tell us?
Just so some of the things that I've kind of talked about are gone over. Big thing is going to be passing zones. Tonight, turn 1, obviously that's the big one. That's where the money's going to happen. I think. I also think that going into the S's is going to be a big deal. Really carrying that momentum going into the corner, and I feel like if you carry the momentum better into the corner, it's a lot easier to come off out of the S's than getting in there a little bit slower. Because I feel like you're not feathering the throttle near as much. You're trying to come up in the throttle too much if you're going in a little bit slower, and it tends to get real loose coming out of there. So I think that could be a pretty good, decent passing spot for guys to make some passes. So
I feel like that's definitely going to be something that we'll have to watch throughout the race. And Real quick, we're gonna bring a special guest here in the broadcast booth and see if we can pick his brain before we actually get gridded up here. So, Marshall Crocker, this is Evan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I do indeed, sir. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I feel like it's good to have you in the broadcast booth. I don't know if you've ever been here before, but just what's your thought process going into the race here tonight?
Very nervous to be in the broadcast booth. This is an experience I'm not used to, so it's going to be scary to talk to you guys tonight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just being out here and finally getting to run some laps. Calling these races for going on 3 seasons now. To finally get in the car will be definitely a pretty different experience to see myself on the other side of the screen. So yeah, I'm just looking to come out here and really get in a groove early. I've done enough laps here in practice that not as many as I would have liked to, but enough that I feel confident I can have top 5 pace, maybe even top 3 all night. But it's really just getting into that groove and not making those mistakes early on. And I think it's going to be pretty chaotic, as you can see in qualifying. Everybody's very even, so just trying to figure out where I sit in the pack and then hopefully put on a good show for you guys. I'm looking to be a little bit more aggressive than I know some like road course one-off guys might be, but we'll see what I can do tonight. And yeah, hopefully I'm talking to you guys not just the usual way after the race, but getting myself an interview.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you after the race. I know you're gonna do great out there and do that 95 paint scheme justice. It's one of my favorite paint schemes that I've made in a long time, so I can't wait to see it in victory lane after the race. But it was great to talk to you. I don't want to bother you too much. Just wanted to bring you in here for a second before the race got started. But it's great to talk to you and good luck throughout the race. Well, we're gonna come back to Marshall. We're gonna come back to Marshall here at some point, just a little bit later. We'll let you guys know when that comes up. You'll see him later during the race. We'll get his thoughts during the race, and of course, if he finishes well enough, we'll get his thoughts after the race. But as always, we'll see him next week as well. But for now, good luck, Marshall, and we will talk to you in a couple of laps.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, so I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun. It'll be fun to see Marshall actually on the track. I feel like we really haven't seen him. The last time Marshall was on the track here with the Bandit Racing League, other than practices and stuff, he hasn't been in an actual race. But he was when we did a little off-season fun series. He was participating in that, and he did fairly well in the super late models. But one thing that was brought up before the race that I didn't know of, apparently there was a little bit of contact between Brandon and Marshall during that off-season race, and apparently in Brandon's mind, he still owes Marshall a nice little shot. So we'll see if that actually happens. But we're gonna go ahead and get to our grid really quick. Of course, starting on the pole is going to be driver of the number 2 for GFR Racing. Who else would you expect to see on the pole at the road course other than Nick Nickerson? It couldn't be anybody else. Behind him, or to his outside, is Benjamin Lacey in the 7 car, followed by Brett Guzik and the 95 of Marshall Crocker Jr. Christopher Hamilton in the 15 is going to be sitting in 5th place, followed by Alec Daffin in the 48, Benny Hogan in the 11 in 7th. In 8th is going to be Jonathan Baker, followed by Ricky Hart Jr. in the 1, and Curtis Yancey, the 51 for Yancey Racing, is going to round out your top 10. In 11th is going to be Mark Allen Bivens in the 76 car, followed by Garrett Hall, Brandon Jackson in the 99, then Jackson Knock, Joshua McQuiggan in 15th, Kevin Foster in 16th, Bill Harkins in 17th. After him, we've got Nolan Gross in the 02, followed by David Lakey. Then we have Robert Mathis, Connor Gibson, Jason Greenwell, Pete Gilson, Eddie Haggy, Gary Wright in 25th. Then we've got Alan Castle, Presley Gilson, Nicholas Lovell, and John Graham. Nicholas Lovell and John Graham did not set a time, so we'll see if they end up gridding or not. Right now, it's down to Presley Gilson in 27th, who's about 5 seconds back as our pace car gets rolling for our first pace lap. We're going to have 40 laps here at Watkins Glen. I feel like that's important to note off the bat. So we're going to have to see what this pit strategy is, our fuel strategy here, because like we said, most likely only going to be one pit stop, and you know that there's not going to be any cautions, so we'll have to see whether guys want to go short the first stint, long the first stint, or just cut it right down the middle. What do you guys think they're going to do? If it was y'all, what would you do?
I would say I would want to be the first car on pit road. As the tires wear, I would like to also point out that when they qualified, the track was around 101 degrees. Well, it's kind of hot for this track. It's definitely not the hottest I've seen it. When iRacing switches over its track states for the new session, the track actually dropped down to 93 degrees. So there should be a little bit more grip in the track. I'm wondering how the drivers are going to adjust to that throughout the race. But tires are going to be a premium here. You're really only going to get the chance to swap them once because you don't want to make that second stop on pit road. So I would try to cut it and get in there early as possible. That would just be me.
What about you, Dawson?
Yeah, it was. So I think that you're definitely gonna have to come down and get tires. Once you get to the pit stops, it's about being clean, really being clean. With this race going green, there is no room for mistakes. You got about 25 laps of fuel, so I'm expecting guys. I would expect some guys that are struggling to be grabbing tires a little bit early, probably around like 20. But some of the leaders probably around like 22 to 23 is what I'm expecting here.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. I do know that Marshall has decided he's just going to cut it halfway. Hopefully I'm not giving the strategy away to any drivers who are watching, but Marshall is going to cut it halfway, going to come down around lap 19 or 20, and that is when we will be talking to him on the broadcast again. Going to get his thoughts as he comes down pit road and is sitting there, but the pace car is off, and we're ready to go green here at Watkins Glen. The 2 car of Nick Nickerson going to lead us to green. The 04 immediately jumping down low, but a great start for the 2. Watch the 95 of Marshall Crocker Jr. already 3 wide as they go down into the first turn.
Wow, he really took him wide out there. Benjamin Lacey coming out of nowhere. This is a guy that I think has definitely been struggling a little bit as late here in the points, but he definitely, I think, needs to have a good run, and I think he understands that. So getting out front early is going to be a big deal here.
Yeah, I completely agree. A great looking number 7 car leading the field right now, and I feel like what you have to do if you're one of those drivers, I feel like if you let Nick get out in front of you and really set the pace, it's just going to be hard for you to get that back. So a great job by him and Brett to really jump out there, get in front of Nick. That way they can kind of set the pace of the race on their own, and then he kind of has to conform to their pace instead of the other way around.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit harder to get around those guys once they're in front of you. It's one thing to just look straight and hit your marks, but now you have to worry about running into the guy in front of you, and it's going to be a lot harder for him to get around him. Not just one, but 2 really fast cars.
And these guys have started to single file out a good bit, but guys getting close to each other, and definitely still racy. Benny Hogan was jumping out a little bit on that last little straightaway, and some of these guys in the back are racing a little bit more, but up front, Benjamin Lacey has a nice little lead for himself over Brett Guzik. Now, Nick is right on his back bumper, though.
It's just so crazy how much on the limit Nick is able to run. I've tried to do some endurance racing with Nick, and I've watched a lot of practice with him. He just has the ability to run a car so much on the limit where I just don't understand how he's able to do it without looping the car or putting in the wall. He's just able to push it that much harder. So I know these guys have a rearview mirror full of his car right now, and that's probably sitting in the back of their heads as they're trying to navigate the course.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed about Nick is how aggressive he is attacking the curbs. I feel like most of the other drivers aren't exactly being that aggressive, but he is really attacking the curbs.
Yeah, at a track like this, sometimes you don't want to get on the curbs. This track, the curbs are pretty friendly to you, and sometimes it actually helps you make the corner to decamber the car and kind of get it pointed. So it's interesting that he seems to be using more curb than anybody else, and he obviously has a little bit faster pace.
Yeah, definitely seems to be using those to his advantage, because that's one thing that I even noticed in practice as well, is that he was a good bit more on the curves than anyone else was, and he was the quickest driver as well. So yeah, there you can see all over the 04's rear bumper, just waiting for him to make any little mistake, and it looks like he's going to duck down to the inside, see if he can get the pass made right here.
Oh, he got a little bit loose there off the corner. Brett was able to edge him out there. One thing that we kind of figured out, so we do a little bit of a practice race, a halfway distance race the night before, just to kind of, get everybody getting the feel of the track and all that stuff, get some more practice in there. And one thing that was key last night is trying to make the pass, but it couldn't happen. One thing that was going on was Brett and Nick, they were battling left and right, and just Nick could not get around them. Now, we weren't sure if Nick was maybe toying with him a little bit, but Brett was able to hold him off. So it's gonna be definitely tough to pass here tonight. We got a couple of little spots here and there that you can do it, but it's a very high speed track, so I think it's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah, I think we've seen that already. We've seen a lot of these drivers really single file out, and that's not exactly what I was expecting to see, but a lot of these guys have single filed out, and it really does look like they're sort of struggling to make the passes.
You're really banking on the braking zones here, and trying to get the preferred lane into the corner. But getting into these braking zones, the one thing you do not want to do is slide the tires. If you get these tires too hot, or you flat spot the tires, you're going to feel it really, really bad as the run goes on. And with how temperamental this track is, you want to make sure you're taking care of those tires. So even when you got a mirror full of somebody else, just kind of making sure you're focusing out the windshield. I know it's probably a little tough for Brett right now in this situation. He's trying to go get the 7, but he's also trying to play defense from the 2.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the things that really makes it difficult on a race like this. A lot of these guys are used to a caution coming out. It's not like we have cautions all the time here in the Bandit Racing League, but most races we at least have 1 or 2. So I feel like a lot of these guys are used to racing hard, but they don't exactly need that track position, because they know at some point a caution's probably going to come out and it'll stack them back up. But they don't have that luxury here today. They have to get every bit of track position that they can along the race, because it's going to go green the whole way. We know that there's not going to be any cautions throughout the race, so you have to fight as hard as you can from the very beginning.
Yeah, I'm just watching back here on the in the back here a little bit. Ricky Hart Jr. and Alec Daffin and Curtis Yancey, they are really going at it here for getting towards the finish line here. It looks like Ricky's just trying to hold the spot. And then I think Curtis seems to be the fastest out of this group as he goes in here, get underneath Daffin. Oh, he's losing it. He's losing it.
Yeah, I think Curtis is definitely one of the most aggressive drivers here in the league, and there you saw he's usually really good about holding on to his car when it gets sideways, but when it gets sideways like that, he did a great job to hold on to it, but he lost that position. He lost that momentum that he was gaining on those guys. But I would say that this is going to be an interesting battle to watch as these guys get a little bit closer together, because they're 3 of the most aggressive and 3 of the best drivers in the league here about racing their car. I've said this before. I think a lot of drivers are good at certain tracks, and there's some drivers who are just really good with the car, and I think all 3 of these guys, they know their car really well. They know what that car is going to do, and it really makes them good on whatever track that they run.
Yeah, I'm just watching this battle through here. Alec Daffin and Curtis are definitely gaining on Ricky going into the bus stop. Ricky just doesn't seem like he has the pace going through the bus stop. Now, I did hear that some guys are going 3rd gear through there, but you mainly want to be in 2nd going through there.
And you saw the 48 wash up just a little bit coming out of that turn. It looked like Curtis was able to gain on him some, even though he was a little bit loose, it looked like, on exit. But one thing that I heard talking to Brandon Jackson a little bit before the race is this setup is a little bit, I don't want to say not the best, but a little bit unusual. He was talking a little bit about how it can get tight, but then it can snap loose sometimes. So do either of y'all know a whole lot about this setup? What's it really like to drive here at Watkins Glen?
I would say that, just in general, Watkins Glen, the track itself is one of those tracks that begs you to just push it and push it. It's such a fast track with very hard braking zones where you're so tempted with, the rabbit that you're chasing in front of you to try and make that pass. It's really just about finesse. You don't want to get on the throttle too soon here. You really have to baby that throttle and make sure you're pointed before you get, you get full power. But, as we can see here, the first half of the lap, Benjamin Lacey is able to kind of gap Brett and Nick. And then towards the second half of the lap, where it's a little bit heavier braking zones, more consistently, they're able to catch back up. So it's really just playing to your strength here. As long as Lacey continue to keep that gap, you should be okay. But you can see this battle for the lead starting to close up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the tires are definitely going to start coming into play here. We're 8 laps in. This is where they're going to start getting a little slick. That front end's going to start really pushing, and that's one thing that I was saying earlier with the tires, that is it keeping the heat out of them rears. It's just when you're getting on that gas, man, it's just you're giving more and more heat into them tires, and it snaps that rear end around. And with the front end just pushing tight, it's just real easy to just have a real uncharacteristic move of the car, snapping loose on you.
I just want to shout out these 3 up front. In years past, we've watched Nick Nickerson run away with the race, and we have this 3-car battle for the lead. I just think that's tremendous, not only for the league, but for entertainment purposes. Nick has to navigate his way through these 2 really fast drivers. You're seeing Lacey start to slip back a little bit more. Brett's running a little bit different line through the carousel, which I think is kind of benefiting him because he's having a substantial amount more drive off out of the carousel than Nick. And he's able to gap him. But it's really going to be interesting how this all plays out. We're about 11 laps away from seeing some pit stops here. So I know these guys up front are really going to push to try and make it kind of a 3-horse race. And they're trying to all out-strategize each other. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I feel like this really goes to show you how much practice time these guys put in because, as Nick's looking to make the pass, going to the inside of the 04 of Brett Guzik right now, see if he can get it done. It looks like he has the momentum going through the corner. But what I was going to say, that this really shows how much practice time these guys put in and how much work they put in to get better, and that's always great to see in the league is these guys are really battling up front.
Oh, Nick is off! Nick is off!
That is a very uncharacteristic mistake from that guy right there. You don't really see that often. I know that he's been so focused on getting that preferred line through there with Brett to his inside that probably threw off his marks a little bit, or maybe he locked him up. But that is huge. Now you can see there's about a second gap between Brett and Nick. Nick's going to really have to work because that is not an easy gap to make up when you're trying to track down guys like this.
Yeah, that's definitely not easy. And one of the things that we've seen from Nick before the one road course race that we've broadcasted that he didn't win, he had trouble on pit road. So the thing is how easily these guys are going to be able to get on and off pit road whenever that time finally does come that they put on new tires.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what kind of damage Nick's got on his car. That was just very uncharacteristic of him. He got in the grass there, and it just kind of pushed him up out into the wall, and he just blew through the corner. It's just very, very uncharacteristic from him.
Yeah,
If I'm Nick right now, I'm just really trying to manage my race at this point. I'm just trying to close the gap up or just stay in touch with those guys and just wait till I get to pit road and use my fast repair. That's a very uncharacteristic thing for him to get into a wall at a track like that.
Yeah, and the question is if that damage is enough that he's going to want to go ahead and pit a little bit earlier than he was planning on. I wonder if we may have to talk to him after the race if we can and see if we can find out what he was planning on doing as far as pit strategy and see if this is really going to change that.
I'd certainly think that probably plays a factor into when he's going to pit. I think that he's probably going to be a little bit more aggressive and get to pit road as soon as he can. I know Brett is really pushing for the lead right now, but I also know that he's trying to take care of his stuff. I think that there's a little bit of fuel conservation going on here. I think that the cars can actually make it to 21 or 22. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't do a full run when I was practicing, but you know, there's gonna be that cat and mouse game on how short you can pit and then make it all the way to the end.
Yeah, I know. Like we said, Marshall's going to be coming in. He's going to split it right down the middle. So, again, we are going to talk to him, get him in the broadcast booth, get his thoughts on what has happened during the race. It seems like he's had a fairly uneventful race as of right now. The 95 Sour Candy Rogue Energy car is just hanging out in 5th position right now. He's got Ricky Hart right behind him, or not right behind him, but gaining on him a little bit, it seems, and Christopher Hamilton out in front of him. And, you know, speaking of Ricky Hart, we saw how close they were earlier. Ricky has gained a little bit on Marshall, and Curtis Yancey and Alec Daffin have fallen back a little bit. Curtis Yancey did end up getting in front of Alec Daffin. Right now he's sitting in 7th. The 48 of Daffin is sitting in 8th right now.
Yeah, one thing about them two drivers that I've always noticed watching these races is they definitely have some serious top-end speed. You know, they qualify real good. You know, that short run pace is just, you know, always on point. But as we get later into these runs where the tires start, you know, falling off and car starts going away, you know, that's where I think you start seeing the strategy that the super important, you know, start coming into play. I mean, it was you got a little bit more. I feel like the little bit more experienced guys kind of start to shine once the tires start falling off here. And Ricky definitely seems to be one of them guys. It's not surprising to see him up there. It's a little surprising to see Marshall kind of as far back as he is. I mean, I didn't expect it. I thought he was going to be up there with the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and one guy that I want to shout out really quick is Nicholas Lovell in the 37 car, right now sitting in 14th position. And he's a driver that I don't know too well. I actually don't know at all. I don't believe that I've heard the name before. I missed last week. He may have been here last week, but he's not a name that I recognize. But right now, up to 13th position, and he started all the way at the back, up 15 positions from where he started right now, sitting in 13th.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dawson, you can go ahead.
Sorry. What is it? Last week we saw him join the league, and he was extremely fast. He was definitely running up in there in the top 5. I don't know where he ended up ultimately finishing, but we were like really surprised. We're like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah, he's definitely working his way through the field right now. As there you see, he's all over the back bumper of the 26 of Garrett Hall. Like I said, already up 15 positions from the start of the race. Easily the biggest mover so far. The next biggest mover is Brandon Jackson, up 4 spots right now. Presley Gilson also up 4 spots, sitting in 23rd. Brandon Jackson up 4, sitting in 9th place right now. Jackson going to be working on the 48 of Alec Daffin here soon if he can catch him. Looks like there's a lapped car down there to his inside. He's going to get by them no problem. I believe that is the 6 of Gary Wright, who's currently in 25th position. But Brandon Jackson in 9th and soon to be working on Alec Daffin up there in 8th if he can get up there and catch him. Out front, though, Benjamin Lacey still looking strong. Brett Guzik and Nick Nickerson right on his tail, though.
Yeah, Nick was really able to battle back. Despite that contact that he made with the wall and got off a little bit, he's able to battle back. He's really charging in the bus stop and the carousel. He's able to gain a lot of ground, but it seems like he's losing a little speed on the top end on the straightaways, so I don't know if that damage is affecting him there.
One thing I'm noticing with Brett going through the carousel there, like you were saying that the lines were a little bit different. He enters a little bit higher than Nick, but just getting that run off and just cutting down, it really seems to be paying off entry. Off exit. So yeah. I mean, that's one, and like Lacey's getting out of shape here. Let's see what they can do here. See if they can capitalize on the mistake.
Yeah, to build on what you were saying, I really think it pays dividends to carry that momentum through there. That is such a finesse part of the track. As you see Brett peek inside for the battle for the lead here. Let's see if he can make it stick. Not quite.
Yeah, I was thinking that was going to be a little bit of a juke there, just to let him know he's there.
I think with him running this half a car higher, I think he's able to carry a lot more momentum here and really take advantage towards the end of the straightaway when he has a substantial amount more speed.
Yeah, and right now is when the 7 of Benjamin Lacey has to be getting a little bit worried. He's got the 04, and now the 04 down to his inside. Looks like he's going to be able to make the pass, but look at the 2 of Nick Nickerson down to the inside. Maybe losing 2 spots in 2 corners, and he's going to. The 7 of Benjamin Lacey back to 3rd place right now. Brett Guzik is going to be your new leader. Nick Nickerson in 2nd.
I think Nick saw that Brett was going for that move, and he had to send it. He knows how hard it is to pass here, and once you get a guy up out of the preferred line, it's kind of like a Martinsville, where that train will start forming, and you'll just get past a ton. So Nick saw his opportunity there, and we'll see what he can do with it. I think Lacey used up a little bit of his tires too much. As you can see, it's lap 16 now, so those tires are really starting to fall off. As you can see, Lacey falling back a little bit here, so we'll see how he can rebound from this.
And while that battle was going on, Marshall went off track just a little bit, so let's go to our Apex Sim Racing replay and see if we can see what happened. Oh, just through the grass a little bit. Messed up the corner. Just a little, went through the grass. Never lost a spot. But Ricky Hart Jr. right behind him right now. He's pulled away a little bit. But Ricky was able to make up a lot of ground. And now Marshall's pulling it back out just a little bit.
I do want to give Marshall a lot of props. You know, he's had a ton of laps here, but they've all been in open wheel cars with a lot more downforce, where you approach the corner completely different. The way you drive this track is completely different, and I'm sure that he hasn't run the short course as much as he's run the longer course that NASCAR doesn't typically run. As you have Nick going to the inside for the lead here, possibly. That's a hard spot to pull off a pass and defend a potential pass. So as we have the battle of the lead all shaked up now.
And as they were battling for the lead, let's hang on right here. I was about to say let's go to our Apex Sim Racing replay, but let's hang on here for just a second. Now it looks like they've calmed down just a little bit, so let's go to our Apex Sim Racing replay and watch that pass for the lead. See those two guys battling, and Nick was just able to get up there on his right side and just barely able to squeak by him, but just enough that he was able to get the pass done. And now up to your lead, and we'll see if that's the final pass for the lead tonight. It looks like Nick has been quick all race, but we'll see if he can sustain it for 24 more laps. Already almost halfway here, 3 laps till halfway now as the 2-car crosses the stripe. And it won't be too long before guys come down pit road. We've got about 2 or 3 laps before I think guys are really going to start hitting pit road, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that and see if we can especially catch Marshall once he's on pit road, talk about how his race is going a little bit. But Nick out front, Brett Guzik in 2nd, Benjamin Lacey in 3rd, Christopher Hamilton in 4th, and Marshall Crocker Jr. sitting in 5th place right now.
And if I'm Brett, that's so frustrating to get past like that. You know, you work so hard to stay in tow with Lacey, and you finally pull off a pass, and you see Nick go off, and he's able to not only pass Lacey, but pass you for the lead. I know that's frustrating, but if he keeps his composure here, I think that he can probably get him on the pit stops. Brett's really good getting on and in on off pit road, so it's going to be interesting to see how all these pit stops shake up, especially with how close they are running on track.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that we're really going to have to focus on tonight, and is almost a little bit of a underrated skill. As we see, we have a little bit of a battle here for the 5th position. Marshall Crocker Jr. and Ricky Hart Jr. battling for the 5th position a little bit, as a little bit of internet trouble. And I'm not sure what's happening now, but I'm not showing any cars on track, so I'm very sorry. But a little bit of technical difficulties here.
There were several drivers that just dropped due to packet loss, so I don't know if we're losing the server here.
hearing there's some storms in the areas. Could be affecting some internet troubles.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what is going on, but it looks like my iRacing is now not working. And are you two good?
Yeah, I'm good. Benjamin Lacey is pitting, as well as Nick Nickerson. So we'll see what this this comes out to.
Yeah, I know the viewers can't see it at home, but if you're that 04 car, you're out there all by yourself, he has to really dig right here. He has to make sure he's getting everything he can on this lap in order to make it worth it.
Yeah, I definitely think that he needs to come next time. It's definitely not surprising to see Lacey pit with Nick. I definitely think that Lacey needed to pit after getting a little bit flustered there on being passed. I think just coming early was the right move there.
Oh yeah, I'd agree 100%. I think that he used up his tires a little bit too much, and he was just waiting to see one of those cars in front of him pull to pit road, and he knew it was only a matter of time.
We're having a couple technical difficulties here. Chris and Dawson doing a great job of letting us know what's going on, and I appreciate if they would, keep doing that. But I'm doing my best to get this back. Where had iRacing closed down on us for some reason. Opening back up right now, though. Now we can look at our
forward to pit road.
Oh, Brett Guzik to pit road. This is going to be interesting. Trying to get the stream back up as quickly as we can, guys. Again, I apologize for the interruptions here.
So we got Nick coming through the carousel here. I'm curious to see where Brett's going to blend out here. It looks like Nick really killed Benjamin off the off pit road. He's definitely really gapped him a lot. So let's see where Brett's going to blend out here.
This is going to be close.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Nick taking the flag now.
It looks like Nick is going to get Brett.
The other thing too is that now Brett has colder tires. Nick already has that outlap on his tires, so he's going to be able to be a little bit more aggressive on this lap, and he knows he needs to push if he wants to maintain that gap, because Brett is going to struggle a little bit here coming out of pit road. That second lap, he'll start to be able to apply the pressure.
Yeah, for sure. That first lap on those tires is just it's a nice skating rink out there for a little bit until you get them warmed up. Once they start coming in, you start getting the grip back and doing your thing. It's with this big of a gap, I don't know. It's looking like that. It looks like Nick is probably gonna. I think he's gonna pull this one out. It's early to say, but I think it's gonna definitely take a mistake from Nick for them to capitalize. Let's see what Brett can do here to see if he can dig and see if he can get him.
I know Brett can see that car out of his front windshield, so as long as he can see him, he's going to keep on pushing, and I know Brett can do it. So we'll see what happens. They're also going to start getting in lap traffic now. That car is going to be exiting pit road. A little bit slower cars on pace, and it's going to be harder for him to navigate getting through those guys, especially in the faster sections of the track.
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to these races, one thing that I've tend to notice is that as you see Brett going off track a little bit, going into turn one, it seems like he pushed a little wide there. One thing I've always noticed with these road course races is, sometimes it's better to be the chaser. You get that little bit of motivation in front of you, and it just makes things easier to push because once you're kind of out there by yourself, you kind of get a little loamy, and it seems like you could lose focus a little easier. Is what it seems like, and it could throw you off.
I couldn't agree with you more. As Brett sees that ticker go down or go up, meaning the relative and his distance to Nick, as he sees that change, it's going to make his aggression go up and up. As you can see, his last lap he went off a little bit, but Brett's going to continue to fight for this. I know he will. I know he really wants to win this, and he wants to be one of the guys that steals a win from Nick on a road course. So we're going to see. I know they're starting to get in more and more lap traffic now, so that's going to be another factor in this. These guys, I can speak for myself. When you have guys that have so much more speed than you on tracks like this, you get a little nervous as far as holding them up and not wanting to mess up their corner. And then what ends up happening is you kind of misjudge it, and the leader just kind of wants you to hold your line and keep doing what you're doing, and they'll work with you. But as it goes on, you're going to have those drivers that make that mistake and possibly take you out.
And we are back. We're good now. I apologize for the delay there, but thank you so much to Chris and Dawson for keeping us updated. Right now, as you can see, Nick in first, and as you guys heard, we've got Brett in second, Benjamin Lacey sitting in third, followed by Christopher Hamilton and Marshall Crocker Jr. Everything should be back and good to go now. Again, big apologies for what happened there. The current gap between Nick and Brett is going to be about 3 seconds, and then Benjamin Lacey is about 2 to 3 seconds behind those guys as well.
Yeah, with that connection issue, it's kind of a shame because you got guys like Ricky Hart who were battling hard with Marshall there. Kind of had to drop out, it looks like, the packet loss. So that's going to put Alec Daffin there behind Marshall. I'm not sure how far back they are, but it's definitely changed the game a little bit back in the pack. It's good that we have our top three here, though.
It looks like Alec Daffin had some trouble. Just went off track and is now going to pit road. We'll head to our Apex Sim Racing replay and see if we can see what happened. Whoa! I don't know who that was in the middle of the track, but a couple guys involved. The 5 going to be one of them. Curtis Yancey just barely able to scrape through there. So we'll see if we can get another replay of that.
Yeah, he plowed the outside wall there. It looks like Bill was out in the middle of the track.
Yeah, trouble there for Alec Daffin. Big trouble for Daffin. Brandon Jackson, Curtis Yancey, those guys don't look to be too hurt. But the 48 came down, used his fast repair, and that is the good thing. He's able to use his fast repair, but all the way back down to 13th position now for the 48 of Alec Daffin.
Yeah, that's really a shame with some of these races. When it comes to the off track and the lap cars, you just never know what's going to happen. Some of these cars can just disappear and then just appear on track, and it's kind of a shame, especially for Daffin. He was running a good race there, especially with Ricky dropping out. It was looking like it was going to be a top 5, and now I think that's kind of ruined here.
And Watkins Glen is one of those tracks where, you have the tracks like Long Beach and Monaco where those are street courses. There's no runoff, so if you wreck, you're going to stay on the track. Watkins Glen is kind of like that, in my opinion, where I know that they've updated the track in iRacing now where you have a little bit more runoff areas, but if you hit the wall, you're washing right back up into the racing line and the track surface, where it makes it very hard for other drivers to predict what's going on. It's not like a Coda or a Sonoma where these large runoff areas and you usually just get stuck in a gravel pit. This track is notorious for having cars bounce off the wall and take out 5 other cars, which would have been a single car wreck, and now you have a multi-car wreck. So that's kind of what I was alluding to as far as cars navigating the lap traffic. I will say that Brett has chopped off about 4 to 5 tenths of a second to Nick's lead. He's going to need to do a little bit better than that to close that gap and battle for the lead.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Marshall and I were talking about a little bit before the race was specifically the runoff and how, since there aren't any cautions, one of the things that he's really been trying to do is practice slowing down just a little bit more in those turns that don't have the runoff and are a little bit more risky, a little bit more dangerous. Since there aren't cautions, he wants to use the runoffs and try and go a little bit deeper into those turns while being a little bit more careful in the ones that don't. So I feel like that may be some of the ways that guys are gaining, whether they're pushing a little bit harder than others in some spots and some guys trying to be a little bit more careful.
Absolutely. I would completely agree with you. That's kind of has to be your approach, right? Especially with a guy that's kind of doing a one-off here as the road cross ringer, and I really think that he's holding his own really well, sitting there in 5th position. He could be knocking on the door for 4th here soon. We'll have to see how that shakes out later, but huge kudos to him, man. I can't say it enough. It's so difficult to go from an open wheel car with such high downforce, and the car wants to slow itself down and get through the corner with so much high quartering speeds, to a car like this, where it's literally trying to stop a semi truck because it's so heavy and there's just a lot of power. It's just these cars, for all intents and purposes, really aren't designed to do this. I know that the new NASCAR car, the Gen 7 car, that's a little bit more designed for that. But even that, it's just so heavy, and it doesn't even shake a stick at what those open wheel cars that Marshall's used to driving around here can do.
Yeah, definitely. And everybody is really starting to get spread out a little bit more now. A much larger gap between most of these guys, but Nick and Brett still at about a 3-second gap. He hasn't been able to close it up, but he also hasn't let it get any further away. Benjamin Lacey is now about 9 seconds behind Nick. So it looks like Nick and Brett are sort of pulling away, but they're pulling away together.
Yeah, for sure. Was it Benjamin? It seems like he was at about 5 seconds there when it came off of pit road, and it is just starting to significantly drop back. And I think he's just kind of losing pace from these guys. I think these guys are starting to check out a little bit. Yeah,
I would say that Nick and Brett kind of go back and forth on who's closing the gap or gaining the gap. Brett just knocked off 2/10 on that lap, but he's going to really need some help from some of these lap cars to kind of close that distance. Dawson, I'll ask you. I specifically think that one extra lap that Brett stayed out on the track while Nick got his pit service, that really is the defining factor here. Brett was out there on much slower tires with a lot less grip, while Nick was able to really push it on that out lap, and I think that's where the difference was made.
Yeah, for sure. With these races that go green for this long, like there is no room for error when it comes to pit strategy, and you really got to hit your marks, because otherwise you're just going to lose a lot of time. And it seems like Brett just wasn't near as clean as Nick. It seems like he killed it on pit road. I mean, when they came off pit road, him and Benjamin, the gap was 2-3 seconds, and then where Brett blended in, it was 2 or 3 seconds. So, and they were all right there. So, I mean, Nick just seemed like he found something on pit road there, and let's see if he can capitalize on it. It's a good comeback from that mistake earlier, and I think that was definitely the smart move, is to get down there before Brett.
Yeah, and one guy that I just want to highlight one more time, because I feel like we're talking about the guys up front so much, but Nicholas Lovell in the 37 car, now up 20 positions, up to 8th spot right now in the top 10, and working his way up to try and get a top 5, but he has a good ways to go. He has about 12 seconds to Curtis Yancey and Brandon Jackson, who are now one of the closest battles on the track. Brandon just right behind Curtis. Brandon up 6 places from where he started, Curtis up 4 from where he started, and those guys now racing for 6th and 7th position. There you see the 99 getting really close to the 51, has gained a lot of ground, and he's going to try and keep gaining as Curtis gets to some lap traffic up in front of him.
Yeah, it's really good runs for those guys. You love to see that. I know one thing I'll say from racing in this league for the past couple of years is that the top 10 has repetitively and over the years has just gotten so much more difficult to break into. And I'll say, you obviously want to go out there and win the race and even finish on the podium if you can, but just breaking into the top 10 in this league is such an accomplishment, because the level of competitiveness in this league is so high. For you to run in this league and get a top 10 each and every week is huge. I want to see if Alec Daffin can track down Mark Allen Bivens here and crack back into the top 10, because that'd be a huge rally for him given his wreck there. But kudos to everybody that's even on track right now. This is such a difficult track, and extra shout out to everybody in the top 10, because I know how hard that can be, especially at a track like this.
Yeah, it really is a difficult track, and you talked a little bit about Alec Daffin and Mark Allen Bivens. Right now, Mark Allen right on the edge of the top 10, sitting in 10th place right now, and he has about a 3.7 second lead on Alec Daffin. So it looks like Daffin is closing a little bit in some spots, but other spots not so much. So we'll see if he's able to get it done here in a couple laps, as there's 10 to go here now at Watkins Glen.
One thing I wanted to touch on a little bit with Bivens here is that, so we've seen him be super fast here as of late, and he's really coming into his own as a young driver. Winning Daytona, of course, that's a huge accomplishment. But as of late, it seems like he's fallen off just a little bit. It was the last 2 races he's ran 31st and 32nd, and it's just not a Mark Allen Bivens characteristic. You don't really see that from him as of late, and it's just a little odd. But hoping he gets back to it here. A good solid top 10, I think will kind of boost his confidence back up and, get back to where he needs to be.
Yeah, the 76 is always fast, and I feel like it's a little bit of what Chris touched on earlier, how difficult this track is to drive, but also how difficult it is to get a top 10 here. And now we do see that Alec Daffin is closing in a little bit. Now the gap 2.8, where it was 3.8 earlier. But no matter what, that 76 car is so quick here, and I feel like this is, like you said, going to do a great job to really boost his confidence, and hopefully we can see him a little bit quicker in the future weeks when he's on tracks that he's a little bit more used to, a little bit faster at. But a great job as it is tonight to finish in the top 10 here at a track that really isn't his specialty.
I always joke with Nick that if I can only get lapped once when he's on a road course, I consider that a win, because that's how quick he is. I know they're up to around P20, that cars that have been lapped multiple times, and there's only 13 cars in the lead lap, it looks like. So, that just shows you the overall pace that Nick has and everybody up front. I know that Brett's starting to lose a little bit of touch with Nick, and I think he's at this point just trying to manage the rest of his race and make sure that he comes home in P2 and get that solid points day. But to speak on Bivens and Daffin, I think that Bivens may be a little bit of a sit and duck here. Daffin should be on newer tires, given that he got that service after that wreck.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the 48 car is definitely hunting the 76. He really wants that top 10. I'm sure he hates what happened earlier and that accident that he got into. And, I feel like sometimes for a lot of drivers, it just takes that little bit of an accident, and then you really just come out raring to go. You really want to get that top 10. You really want to get yourself back up there. And it really looks like that's how the 48's driving right now, doing everything he can and catching the 76 of Mark Allen Bivens, trying to get himself back in the top 10. Now the gap down to 1 second and closing a little bit in that corner.
Yeah, I kind of want to see what Bivens can do here. With him being on old tires, it's going to be super tough. But, I'd like to see him possibly get a top 10 here. He's got to fight hard. He's really got to dig. There's only 8 laps to go, but I think Daffin's going to unfortunately get him here.
Yeah, there you can see how much time Daffin closed up just in that braking zone right there, and coming on the front straightaway right here is going to close a lot of time. We'll see who can get off this corner a little bit better.
I touched on it a little bit earlier with Alec Daffin. Just his consistency this year coming into this league has been unreal as of late. It was at 2nd, 4th, and 3rd, and 8th, and then 6th at Coda. That's unreal. His average finish is definitely, it's higher than Nick's and it's higher than Brett's. So he's sitting at a 3.71, and you got Nick at a 6.11, and Brett at an 8.22. So Alec Daffin is just absolutely on fire here as of late. It looks like he's running, it's P7 in points right now. He's 290, and Nick is at 359. So he's got a little bit of work to do, but he's got that win, which is nice. But unfortunately, the wins don't count. But that win is going to help him going into the playoffs with that little bit of bonus point.
Yeah, Alec Daffin, like you said, has been extremely consistent, and that's been one of the best. I've really liked watching him for that reason. Coming into this season, I focused a lot on the drivers that I knew because, it's just so much easier to. When I've been broadcasting this league for a couple seasons, and I'm used to the Nick Nickersons, the Brett Guziks, the drivers like that. There you see the 48 poking his nose down there, trying to make something happen. Looks like they're going to be side by side right here. We'll see who can pull it off, but it's really easier to focus on those drivers that you just have a tendency to do that. But that 48 has been really fun to watch. As there you see, he just took 10th position, and now he's going to try and work on Benny Hogan, but I don't know if he's going to have time to do that. 15-second gap with about 6 laps to go, but like I was saying, the 48 has been one of the most fun drivers to watch just because of his consistency. He seems to always be at the front. He's not one of those drivers that dominates one race and then he's not there the next. He's consistently at the front of the racetrack no matter where we're at. He's just a very good driver and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. He's a very aggressive driver. I know that. But that's good. That top end speed is good to have. I think with the top end speed, he tends to manage his race a little bit better than, say, like Curtis Yancey. I think Curtis has that top end speed and everything, but he doesn't have that long run pace, and I think that Alex kind of got that a little bit more figured out than somebody like Curtis. I kind of put them in the same league there. They seem to always be around each other.
Yeah, now really the closest battle that we're seeing on track is going to be between the 0-2 of Nolan Gross and Garrett Hall. This back for 14th position, and Garrett's down 3 from where he started. Nolan, though, is going to be up 4, and he's trying to keep that up 4 instead of letting Garrett get by him. And one of the interesting things about Nolan Gross, and one of the things that I think has been fun to watch throughout the race, is he's had a foot cam up for us on Skype. So let's ride around for at least part of this lap here, and you can really watch and see what his feet are doing on track and how these drivers are really manipulating the throttle and the brake to get through here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see Nolan here having a pretty good run here in the top 15. He's not usually up this far in these races, but he's definitely having a solid run here tonight, and that's good to see. He's a young driver. He's got a lot to learn, but I think it seems like he's coming into his own a little bit here on this road course, and it's a track that everybody knows really well, and everybody pretty comfortable with for the most part. They know the track, they know what they have to do. It's just a matter of doing it, and I think that he's just kind of getting it done tonight. It's good to see.
Yeah, it definitely is good to see. It's always fun to root for those drivers that aren't usually up in the position that they are, those drivers that are consistently getting better every week, like I feel like Nolan is. He's one of those drivers that we've seen not do as good and then consistently practice more, get better, and now we're starting to see him crack this top 10. He's down in 14th right now, but doing a great job here on a very difficult track. And I feel like one of those drivers that reminds me of is Mark Allen Bivens, because Mark is one of those drivers that we saw a little bit more consistently at the back of the pack, and now, like you said, this season has really turned it up, won at Daytona, and now he's doing really good and running in 11th place tonight, but it's really not surprising anymore to see him in the top 10 or even the top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
And Evan, as we're getting closer to the end of the race here, I just want to make a couple quick shout-outs to people not necessarily in the race. Obviously, the viewers that stuck around despite the technical difficulties, really appreciate them staying in there. And being active in the chat, we definitely appreciate that. But also appreciate you, man. I know you do a lot for the league. You help me out with a lot of the graphics. We've been a little bit lacking on the social media side. I've had a couple things going on in my life, so I haven't been able to do the social media, but really appreciate everything you do for the graphic side of things, doing paint schemes for my car when I need it. And I think that everybody, if you're watching this broadcast and you need some graphics done for whatever you need to do, make sure you go to evanwallmedia.com, check out his website. Super great guy, and obviously just a great personality, so make sure you go check this guy out. And Dawson, I hope you get out on track soon. It's been really fun broadcasting with you. I can't wait to race you, and we can get together in CFR racing or whatever we call it down there with Brett, so we can start putting together some good runs with the team.
Yeah, well, thank you. You do a great job on all the social media side, even if it has been lacking lately. We don't blame you for it. We appreciate all the social media stuff that you do, and again, thank you. But yeah, evanwallmedia.com is where you need to go if you want paint schemes. As you can see on the back of Brandon Jackson's car, as Curtis gives him a little bit of a love tap there. evanwallmedia.com if you need a paint scheme. And speaking of Brandon and Curtis, this is the battle for 6th position right now, and these guys really fighting for it. Curtis getting a little bit loose through that corner, going wide, but able to keep up a lot of momentum there. The 51 right on the back bumper of the 99.
Yeah, I'm curious to see with these two very, very aggressive drivers. I'm curious to see how this is going to turn out here. It looks like they're running for 7th and 6th. So I mean, it's going to come down to this last lap here.
Yeah, it's really nice to see them to race like this. I know they've had a little bit of bad blood in the past, so it's really nice to see them kind of enjoy each other's competition, and kind of have this little shootout here towards the end for what is it, 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th. But yeah, it's nice to see these guys go at it cleanly.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things, even the drivers in this league that do have little confrontations, people get mad at each other all the time. It's racing, it's going to happen. Rubbing is racing, and there are always arguments, but no matter what, any of these guys on the racetrack love the competition from their other drivers, and I know both of these guys really respect each other, and they're both really good drivers, and you can see that right here, but it seems like it's gone so quickly, but Nick Nickerson has taken the white flag already out front. The Apex Sim Racing white flag, one more lap around for the 2-car of Nick Nickerson. Brett Guzik is about 4.3 seconds back, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it unless something catastrophic happens to Nick here. And, we have had a couple instances of the broadcaster's jinx, but none of those have ever affected Nick, knock on wood. Hopefully I didn't just jinx him there, but coming through some of the final corners, it looks like Nick is going to have the lead. As there you saw Alec Daffin off track again. Daffin did such a great job, but he's going to lose a couple of spots there down to 11th. Mark Allen Bivens is going to take that 10th place back, and it looks like he may end up getting the top 10 here tonight.
Yeah, congrats to Nick as he's about to take the checkered flag here. He had to battle through some adversity, and he really tried to give it to him. He tried to let have them have a chance at winning, and Nick's going to get it done.
Yeah, I think this is the closest gap they've had in a long time for a road course. It seems like Nick usually beats him by about 10 seconds or more. So 4 seconds for Brett to be back there in second. It's pretty good, but man, Nick just once again just killing it tonight.
Nick Nickerson finishing first, Brett Guzik coming home in second, Benjamin Lacey in third, and our fan favorite, Marshall Crocker, the 95 car, bringing it home in 5th position, crossing the line right now in the Rogue Energy Sour Candy 95 car. Good to see him on track. Unfortunately, he didn't finish enough to get in the broadcast booth. You have to be a special person like us to be up in the broadcast booth, and unfortunately, Marshall just isn't going to be able to make it up here tonight. I wanted to talk to him during his pit stop on lap 19, but unfortunately, that was when all of the technical difficulties started occurring. And again, thank you guys for sticking along during those technical difficulties. As there you see the 51 in the 99, giving the 95 a little bit of love. One of the only times they've seen him on track and have to enjoy it while they can. But with that, we're going to see if we can pull the two of Nick Nickerson here in the broadcast booth, talk to him about that win that he had. But real quick, before we do, we're going to head to commercial. We'll be right back, and then we'll have our interviews with Mr. Nick Nickerson, Mr. Brett Guzik, and Mr. Benjamin Lacey. Apex Sim Racing has immersive sim racing gear made for you. Whether you need a button box to adjust your in-car settings during the final lap, a race-ready steering wheel for total control on track, or a full turnkey racing simulator ready for your first race, Apex Sim Racing has you covered. Click the link in our video's description to head over to their website as soon as the race is over. Have you wondered why our camera angles look so good? It's simple. Track cams for gourmets. Find their link down below in the description to bring a level of immersion to your sim racing experience that has never before been possible here in iRacing. Evanwall Media started as nothing more than a catchy Instagram handle, but it's quickly become much more. Right now we're two college students with a love of videography looking to provide you with high quality videos. If you're in the Southeast looking for a video of any type, head over to evanwallmedia.com to send a message. Even if you aren't looking for a video, check out Evan Wall Media on YouTube to see what we've done. Everybody doing celebratory burnouts, or I don't really know what they're doing. It looks like a mess down there, but we're going to see if we can pull up Mr. Nick Nickerson and see if we can talk to him and get his thoughts after such a great race. Hey, Nick, this is Evan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. You know, we thought there might be a first-time road course winner after those first couple of laps. Let's talk us through your thoughts in the beginning and how you really got past those guys.
Yeah, felt pretty good after my qualifying. I knew that I had a little bit of a leg up on the other guys there, just based on qualifying speeds. But so going into one there, I'm just not used to like this new restart stuff. I need to fine tune that because Breck got a little bit of a jump on me, and he crossed over from the inside. I went down to block the inside lane. He crossed over, and I was watching that. I missed my brake markings. Got shut up and ended up in third place there. And for like that first entire half stint, man, like I knew I was faster. I had like faster exits and entries into corners, but I couldn't pass anywhere. Like they were just doing a good job of just racing their line. Like I couldn't get around anywhere, and I was just stuck. I tried a couple times, but it just wasn't enough speed coming out of like say the carousel. I think I got underneath Brett a couple times, but that just running the outside of the carousel was just so much faster than what I could get on the inside, and it was tough. And then I think I was going to take him too wide into the second before last corner, and I clipped the grass, and fortunately I didn't destroy my car. I was able to get up there, and I don't quite remember exactly how I got back in the lead, but I know Benjamin, I think, maybe got loose at turn 7, I think it is, and Brett and I both squeaked under there. I can't remember how I got past Brett, but it's probably some kind of mistake. It's easy to do when the tires start getting old, but yeah, man. And then run to the ends, I was worried about if I was going to run out of fuel or not, because I pitted a lap earlier than I wanted to, I think. I pit on starting lap 20, and I should have pitted at the end of lap 20, but everything worked out, and I finished with like 0.2 gallons left or something.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about tires. How big of a deal was it on fresh tires compared to old tires? That's something that we saw a little bit from up here, but how was it when you're driving the car?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I drive it, it's never really a big issue. I like the tires. I mean, if you start sliding like in the carousel, if you end up like power sliding the whole carousel, then the tires get heated up, and it takes like a good lap and a half to cool back down. But as long as you abide by the rules of never sliding the tires, and just heavy on the brakes and straight line out of the corner, then it's not really an issue with the tires. Of course, fresh tires are always like a couple seconds faster out of the pits, but yeah, I mean, for me, it really wasn't. The tires weren't really a big issue.
Well, you obviously did a great job, and this is obviously, I would consider it your specialty here on road courses, but you're good on any track that we go to. And coming up next, we got Bristol, and I can't remember exactly how you've done on Bristol. I know you haven't had the success that you have, obviously, on road courses, but what are your thoughts going into Bristol next week?
Yeah, man, I freaking love Bristol. It's like one of my favorite tracks. I mean, but it's one of those tracks where you could easily get yourself out of the race, by mistake on like the both corner exits. Even if those walls come up on you pretty quickly. We'll just have to see how the track plays out too. I mean, hopefully it's racy enough to where we can run too wide. If not, it's going to be a long night of yellows. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see once it gets next week. But no matter what, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Just like tonight was a lot of fun to see the 2-car in victory lane again. It never gets old. But you know the deal. Shout out who it is you need to shout out. This is your time to take away the broadcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. But before that, it looks like we had a little bit of an issue during the race with network connectivity for some people.
Yeah, it looks like we did. Had a couple people drop out.
Yeah, they were saying that broadcast dropped out or not. Hopefully everybody's still sticking around. But appreciate everybody that's watching. I know we're missing a few drivers, like Cody or whatever. I don't know if he's watching, but looking forward to having some of them guys back. Um, yeah, everybody that participates in this league, man, it's tons of fun. And Bill and all the work he puts in, Brett's too. Brett and Lacey, man, that was one hell of a race that we had there in that first half. I was sweating a little bit. It was like I said, it was very difficult to pass. But man, let's see. Other than that, good old sponsors, man. Big Red Propane for sponsoring GFR Racing. Huge shout out to them. TechNet, Advanced Auto Parts. Neighbors Pool Service, VIP Auto Glass, all those guys. I really appreciate them, being part of the team. And of course, Rogue Energy, Perfect Shine Auto Spa for what they do for the league. And man, appreciate you doing the broadcast, man. Giving Marshall a chance to actually run with us. Maybe you can do that the next event that you'd like to run.
Yeah, it was a great time doing the broadcast again. It obviously didn't go the way that I wanted to, but I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure Marshall had a lot of fun as well. Able to get a good top 5 out of it. I told him that I wanted to see him in victory lane, but if there's anybody else, I'm not mad that it's the 2-car in victory lane. So it's not too big of a deal. But it was fun to see you win the race, and we'll see you next week at Bristol.
Hey man, I appreciate it. Take care.
The great Nick Nickerson, as always. Not surprising to see him in victory lane, but finishing second was Mr. Brett Guzik. Let's get him pulled down here. Hey, Brett, this is Evan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I've got you.
Well, I have somebody special here in the broadcast booth that I know that you know, and if you've seen the broadcast, which I know that you have, you know that I don't exactly love giving these post-race interviews. I usually let Marshall do it, but I have a nice guy named Dawson up here in the broadcast booth, and I'm going to go ahead and let him interview you. So,
all right.
Take it away,
Sounds
Dawson.
Good.
Hey, Brett, how's it going?
Doing good.
Hey, man, it was a good race there. It was really fun to watch you race there against Nick and Lacey. You got out front there and kind of just latched onto Lacey and kind of held off Nick there for a while. What was kind of going through your head there once Nick made that big mistake? Like, I know Lacey was up there. What did you think that was gonna go on there?
I was just trying to kind of bide my time and let the tires kind of wear out a bit and make Lacey force himself into a mistake, honestly. And in that second stint, unfortunately, I think Nick pitted a lap before me, and that kind of got him out ahead of me. But it wasn't, game over or anything. And unfortunately, I think the last run, there's a few cars that kind of ended up getting in the way there. But I was just happy that we had the pace to be able to win, whether we did or not.
Yeah, we saw you pit there a lap later. That I think kind of cost you there a little bit. But I kind of had a feeling that Nick was with that damage there. I thought he was going to come a little bit earlier than you were. But I think where it ultimately ended up happening was at pit road. So I mean, what goes on with going down pit road there at Watkins Glen? I mean, I know it's kind of right off the corner. How tough is it getting into pit road there?
When we get to lap 20 on these tires, especially the rear tires, they really are just not underneath you at all. It feels like you have like you're riding on the rims almost. It's like just skating around, not doing anything that you want it to. So you really have to whoa it up quite a bit getting into pit road. I felt like I entered the pit road as well as I could, went down pit road as well as I could. Had a clean pit exchange. Obviously, Nick had fresh tires for one more lap on the start of the run, but I was having better tires at the end of the run. And just unfortunately, I couldn't really get to use them. I buzzed them one time in the middle of the run, and then Nick was able to get by cars a lot easier after that, and a few cars just ended up getting in front of me in the S's, and wasn't able to make up enough ground. I was maybe 1 or 2 tenths faster and on the key laps, but there was just too many people piling up in front of me.
Yeah, for sure. It was the lap traffic definitely getting in the way there a little bit, but it was ultimately I think that pit road was the big decider. I mean, he really beat Lacey off of pit road there too. It's pretty cool. I get to watch you race every weekend or every week here on the league, and watching you grow up racing and everything like that, but never got to broadcast for you. So it was pretty cool getting to broadcast for you here. But you know the deal. Any shout outs, people you want to thank? Now's your time.
Yeah, just with you broadcasting everything, obviously it's like your first time ever doing this. You've never actually raced me in real life for the most part, and here in the future you might actually get to run against me weekly for once, and that's actually never happened in their whole life, which is kind of funny. But yeah, just like to thank everybody watching tonight, everybody on Full Send Racing Network, you, Evan, Marshall, who was racing against us tonight, and just Bill, our admin crew, and just everybody watching tonight. Just hope you had a great experience seeing us put on a battle.
It was a great race and great to watch you, Brett, and we'll be excited to see you guys next week.
Yep, thanks guys.
Yeah, so sorry to throw you in there, Dawson, but I thought that might be a little bit of fun, and you did a great job interviewing him. But now we've got one more guy that we want to pull in, and that is our third place finisher, Mr. Benjamin Lacey. Hey, Benjamin, this is Evan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, you had a nice battle there at the beginning of the race. You led a good bit of laps, so kind of talk us through that start, really.
Yeah, so that start, actually missed a shift, which allowed Brett to kind of get to the inside. And then I knew he and Nick were going to push it a little bit, and I was hoping they'd make a mistake, and they made it a lot earlier than I was expecting them to. I was able to kind of dive underneath in turn one and take the lead. Caught Nick, and I know Nick by surprise a little bit. I was talking to him a little earlier. So I was able to lead some laps there, and it was kind of fun to be out in front of Nick for a bit. And then, made a little bit of a mistake later on in the run, and then both Brett and Nick were able to get by me. It's just a testament to how fast those guys are. You got to stay on it, and you make one mistake, they'll get you.
Yeah, those guys are definitely quick, but at the same time, you did a great job. There are very few people who could lead that many laps against Nick Nickerson on a road course, and you did a great job here at Watkins Glen. Is Watkins Glen really a special track for you, or would you say you're better at that than some other road courses, or did it just happen to be the night for you?
This track is probably one of my better road courses. Coda and Sonoma are probably my least favorites. They're very, very technical. I just haven't spent much time on them, but this track is a little bit less technical, so you can kind of wheel it. So it makes it kind of fun in that way. But yeah, road courses in general are just you got to be on it. You got to be focused. It demands that from you. And, when you lose focus, you make a mistake, and then you fall from P1 to P3.
Well, no matter what, even a third place finish is really good against the competition that you were up against tonight. And speaking of road courses, we're moving to an oval next week. We're going to Bristol, and how do you feel about Bristol? That seems to be the type of track that you would be good at. So is that something that you're looking forward to?
That's it can go a couple of ways. We can probably get a lot of green flag run, or we can have a caution fest. I don't know. If it goes green, it could be a lot of fun just driving around there and doing what you do. But if it's kind of one of those caution fests, and it kind of changes the strategy up a little bit, and kind of depends on your short run speed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? You did a great job tonight. I'm not going to hold you up too long. So you've been here before. You know the deal. This is the time of the broadcast where you get to take it away, shout out whoever you want to shout out, and just take away the broadcast. So have at it.
Yeah, Film in the Wild. Check them out on YouTube, youtube.com/filminthewild. They do a lot of kind of like behind-the-scenes documentary type stuff on wildlife documentary, believe it or not. So really cool stuff they have going on. They got some stuff for some owls, Africa. So yeah, give them a shot. See if you enjoy the content. See Geezer, Rogue Energy, Full Send, Evan Wall Media, Bill, the admins, the league. I appreciate everybody, man. It's a lot of fun racing this league.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you guys. It's the drivers that that are really the most important here, and y'all did a great job of keeping us entertained tonight. So I can't wait to see what you guys do at Bristol, and I'll see you then.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Yes, always great to talk to those guys. Everyone with a great finish here tonight. You've been able to see them scrolling on the left side of your screen there. Nick coming away with the win, Brett Guzik, Benjamin Lacey, Christopher Hamilton, and Marshall Crocker Jr. finishing in your top 5. And thank you to everybody for watching. It was a great broadcast to come back to. It was a lot of fun to do. Thank you especially to Dawson Guzik and Chris. Both of you guys, you made this a whole lot easier, especially when we had some technical difficulties there in the middle. So just a huge thank you to you guys. You've made it a lot easier on me. I think the 3-man booth worked out really well, and you guys really helped me out a lot. It was a lot of fun to come back in here and talk a little bit more. We'll see if I'm back next week or not. I never know what my schedule is, so we'll have to see. But if it's one of these other guys in here, they do a great job, and I love watching the broadcast with them. But thank you to Bill for letting me do this, Marshall as well, because we're doing this on his channel, and I hope that it was good enough to meet his standards on his channel. I don't think it was as good as his usual broadcast, but we tried to get it as good as we could, and you know what, I think we did a great job, excluding those few technical difficulties in the middle. So there's just one more person that I want to bring in before we head out, and that is the driver of the 95, Marshall Crocker Jr. Hey Marshall, is Evan up in the broadcast booth? You got a copy?
Yes, sir, indeed I do.
Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, I wasn't able to get you in during the race.
No worries.
I didn't exactly. It wasn't the best broadcast that has ever been on the Full Sin Racing Network, but you know what? I told you needed to win the race, and you didn't do that either. So I guess we both let each other down just a little bit. But you know what? I won't blame you if you won't blame me. So just real quickly, talk us through your race, and after that, I'm gonna let you close out the broadcast.
Sounds good. Yeah, it all started pretty well. First of all, like the nerves were really picking up there on the warm-up lap. I've been off karting for a year now, so that feeling of that last second of emotion, your heart starts going, you're getting in the zone. It was such a nice feeling to have back there. And then the problem started in turn 1. Really, coming out of turn 1, you guys saw that crazy move, or just back and forth between Brett, Nick, and eventually Benjamin won out. And I had that chance there. I was alongside Nick there off the exit. Thought I could get a good run out wide, and just I double shifted up on the exit there, put myself in third, and didn't have the run just because I was in the wrong gear to get by. So I had to settle in for fourth there. Christopher was absurd on his conservation of both tires and fuel. The guy was just locked in strategy wise. He took off there towards the end of the stint, and after he passed me there, I wasn't getting him back. So kind of settled into the groove, like I said. Just tried to find that zone where I could run consistent laps. Didn't make too many mistakes. Had one run through in the bus stop, just trying to experiment. And some part of me still wanted to go back and get Chris for fourth, or at least try to get the podium in case one of the top 3 guys had an issue. But yeah, you really can't sell just how talented these guys are. Just from watching, I promise you, didn't get as much time to practice this week as I would have liked, but definitely knowledge of the track was there. I barely ever run the stock cars, especially the Xfinity, but I knew the car well enough that I thought I would be a little bit closer there on pace, and just those guys are in a league of their own. Those top 3 guys that finished the way they did, absolutely unreal. The battling, I hope, was pretty insane, because on the timing tower, it looked like it was dead even. So it was such a great experience. So great to finally be in here and be on the other side of it, and definitely hoping in the future, if I get more time, get more experience in the car, figure out how those guys were saving on the long runs, then definitely I feel like I could have more pace there. I almost ran out of fuel there. I did run out of fuel off the last corner at the end there, so I cut it a little bit close on the first stint, and had to conserve pretty hard there at the end. So Curtis and Brandon, luckily their battle kind of slowed each other up, and was luckily able to stay ahead of them there at the end, come home for a top 5. But yeah, it's not the podium or not the win I was promising, and it's unfortunate. Glad I still get to stop by here for a bit, but I'm sure the broadcast was a lot better than you're giving it credit for. And hopefully Dawson and Chris up there in the booth, you guys had a good time making, well, Dawson, your debut, and Chris, always glad to have you back. So it'll be good to be back next week. And for the ovals, definitely that's going to require even more practice than this would. But I do genuinely hope in the future we can work this out. I can get another shot at maybe a road course I'm a little bit more used to. Roval is my track, so if we go to the Charlotte Roval, dial me in, and yeah, I feel like I'll have a little bit more competitive pace. But I had so much fun, and hopefully you guys watched at home enjoyed it, and hopefully I didn't let the fans down too much there.
No, it was definitely, it was great to watch. It was a lot of fun seeing you on track, and coming away with the top 5 was a great job. So, it was great to see you on track and great to be back in the broadcast booth. And I'll definitely have to make sure I'm back a couple more times to get you on track a couple more times.
I would love that. We'll see in the future. I always like to call the road course races when I can. And if they're going to get this exciting, then I got to be up there to call a couple of them if we're going to see a battle up front like we did. But I can gladly do the little end spiel if you want. I don't know if you've gone over the sponsors yet, Evan.
Go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, so as always, I don't know if we have a graphic for it up on screen, but as always, a series sponsors, we got to thank iRacing, the sim that lets us put this all on, and definitely a sim that I was off for far too long. Good to be back in. Good to be getting some practice in. Apex Sim Racing, as always, a very important sponsor of the series. So if you want to get some quality sim racing merch, I'm eventually going to have to upgrade the setup from this, as you can see, Logitech wheel over here. Definitely going to go to Apex Sim Racing, going to go check them out for button boxes, for wheelbases, for wheels, anything like that. That's where you want to go. So the link should be in the description there, as always, and that's where you go. And use code Bandit for to save on your purchase. Other than that, as always, Rogue Energy want to shout out specifically. They're a huge sponsor of the series as well. They were on the car this week. Was running the Rogue Energy, the sour candy, shouting out their new flavor. So sour candy, hence the gummy bears. Go check it out. Rogue Energy, as always, link is in the description. Use code Castle Esports. Other than that, want to thank Perfect Shine Auto Spa, another sponsor of the series, as always. They're always supportive of everything we do. And Kevin Foster, their representative tonight, I was with him on track for a little bit. So good to see him. Other than that, track cams for gourmets. They provide all the custom track cams we use. Got to go through everybody. Oh, thank you to Charles Oberg, of course, for sponsoring tonight's Stay Off My Grass 40. I stayed off the grass pretty well, I would say, and then had one slight run through in the bus stop. So, try to keep it to a minimum, but definitely trim the grass more than I would have planned. But other than that, big thank you, of course, to you, Evan, and Chris and Dawson, everybody up there in the broadcast booth tonight, taking my job for me, but particularly Evan for making the paint scheme there. They always look incredibly polished, and hopefully I gave you something a little bit more fun to do with the gummy bears theme for the sour candy. So it came out perfectly. It was incredible. I look forward to using it if ever I run more Xfinity in the future, which is going to be rare outside of this series. But other than that, just a couple quick shout outs from me. I want to thank my dad for running some laps with me. Marshall Crocker Jr. ran some laps with me yesterday in practice, got me all warmed up, and he was spotting for me in the car tonight. It's definitely some valuable info at the end there when you're trying to save fuel to finish a race. Shout out to my girlfriend Georgia. I think she's watching tonight for the first time. So top 5, not too bad. Hopefully we'll improve that in the future, and we'll have the first win before too long. But no, other than that, of course, just thank you to everybody watching at home as always. And good to be back with you guys next week in the booth. So this is definitely a good change of pace, and I'm pretty sure this won't be the last time I'm here. And hopefully in the future, more practice, more preparation, know the car a little better. We'll get that win for you guys. We'll put Rogue Energy and we'll put the 95 in victory lane.
And with that is going to do it for our broadcast here at Watkins Glen. We got Bristol next week, and we'll see you then. Absolutely.
Absolutely.